be giving out some NFL picks for you today, some college football picks, some survivor picks. Joining me, as always, Ben Rasa with his hot takes. He's on a college football heater right now. He's going to have the information that you need to win.
Yes. I'm balancing it out because I cannot hit an NFL bet and I can't lose a college bet. So I guess that balances out in a way. But yeah, you and me today. Jordan is in Vegas. So he had to take a rain check. We'll get him back next week. We do have his picks for the contest, which we will get. And then after this week, we are going to consolidate, see where we're at, and do a recap next week on the show. But we will breeze through this today, get to some big NFL games in week 7, talk a little college football, obviously, in Slack, in our channels. Feel free to chime in, and we'll be discussing the games all weekend. But where do you want to begin, my man?
Oh, man. Well, first, I just want to give a shout out to our sponsor, EV Analytics. I was just checking their site out. You can head on over there. It's a fun site to go check out. They have betting models, real-time odds, betting stats for every single sport. You can track your odds over there. It's a really cool tool. So as well, they have a lot of research data like first down rushing success, carry data, 5-year push charts, tons of information out there. So if you want to really deep dive into some stats, I suggest you go check out EV Analytics. But yeah, let's why don't we dig into our NFL picks? I started researching this a couple hours ago and I had nothing. And then after an hour of kind of looking at these spreads, I've got 3 games that I kind of like here, Ben. So
all right.
Jordan and I are on the same page as usual because I feel like we go through the same stuff. But what say you? How about you give us your first pick of the week?
Sure. So I do have one pick that is the same as Jordan. So I guess I'll get that out of the way.
I have a feeling we're all going to be on this pick.
I do too. I am going to be, and it hasn't been working. I will say it's the Bears. They are a 3-point favorite at home against New Orleans, who seems to, they are undefeated since Bridgewater has come in. It's been mostly with the defense. And I thought going on the road to Jacksonville last week would present some problems. They found a way. This is a brutal spot, though. Chicago has, they're off the bye after a disappointing game in London at home, against a team that, yes, I know Bridgewater is playing well, but I really wonder how the Saints will be able to move the ball. Now, the Raiders game, maybe that was a sign that, there are some weaknesses, but overall, I still think this Bears defense is plenty good enough, even without Trubisky on the offensive side. I expect Chicago to bounce back, laying only 3 points. I'm happy to lay them at home with the Bears.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. That's the game that I have as well. So it looks like all 3 of us are on this game this week. I'm surprised. I actually wasn't surprised at this line. I feel like that's probably a pretty good line, especially with the really low total. I feel like this could be the kind of game where we might lose this bet because the Bears only win by 3, or it's a push, or it's they win by less than that, because I think it's going to be a pretty tight game. But at the same time, the Saints are banged up right now. Kamara DNP this week. Jared Cook not practicing. They're low on weapons on offense, and so I think that the Bears defense should be able to stop them here, and it's really just a question of whether or not this Bears offense can put up any points. And it's really going to come down to, I think, the battle of the trenches. It's you have the Bears in their second best pass rush in the NFL according to Pro Football Focus. The Saints have the second best pass blocking in the NFL according to Pro Football Focus. So I think whoever is able to win that matchup probably ends up winning this game. So I'm gonna take the Bears off the bye, getting healthier, Saints banged up. That's pretty much my logic behind it.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. It's a game that, on Sunday I may look to actually add to my position or buy out in some regards, because I do think that whichever team can get up in this game and force the other to try to play catch up is at such a huge advantage, just because of the way the personnel unfolds. If the Bears can pin their ears back and really force Bridgewater to push it down the field, I could see the game getting out of hand to an extent. And likewise, for the Saints, if they are able to generate some offense, then they know they can lean on that defense, which has been so good, shrink the game, shorten the game. The total is only 38, which is really low. So you're definitely right. It could be a grinded out game, but at the same time, I trust Chicago at home just a little more. And, the Saints have done their job without Breeze. I'd be pretty surprised if they can go in and continue this win streak.
Yeah. And hopefully Mitch Trubisky's healthy. I don't think it really matters. It really says something about the Vegas line that this game is on the board with the Trubisky injury status still unknown. They don't really see any difference between him and Chase Daniel, though I do think that there's always that possibility that he can break one off with his legs that Chase Daniel doesn't have. So I feel like he does add, even though he's been terrible this year, he does add that dynamic component. And we've seen him with the big games. We've seen the Bears scheme to his strengths and scheme him and make him actually look like a decent quarterback at times. So I think that's also a legit possibility.
For sure. Yeah. And, it's a game, like I said, Chicago off the bye, off the Raiders game, which was stunning to me, how Josh Jacobs was able to just run right through them. Not something I ever thought was possible.
Mm-hmm.
It's a time for the Bears to really respond. And the NFC North, I mean, it's a very competitive, top to bottom, probably the most competitive division. These games really count. So guess we're all unanimous there. What say you for your second game?
Maybe we're going to be unanimous on this one too. This is another Jordan pick, but I like the Eagles plus 2.5 at the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys, again, so banged up. Their offensive line is just in shambles right now. Leo Collins out. Tyron Smith didn't practice. He's probably out. Zach Martin, he was limited in practice. You have Amari Cooper, whose quad isn't responding. He's probably going to be out. Randall Cobb, DNP. There are so many injuries to this team right now that I was kind of shocked when I saw this line. I don't really get why the Eagles are getting 2.5 points here. And then you factor in that the Eagles have one of the best defensive lines in football, and the Cowboys' offensive line obviously banged up. So give me the Eagles here. I'll take the points. I feel like the Eagles' secondary will probably be covered somewhat by the fact that they should be able to generate a pass rush and limit Dak's ability to or time to throw. I'll take the points, even though it's in Dallas.
Do you have any interest? I know certainly for the contest you get the points. I see the Eagles on my screen plus 125. Any interest in them maybe outright in a game like this?
Yeah, I think why not, right? Like what's the I'm just gonna look up the number here in terms of the
2.5 is what I see, which is not obviously
minus. It's probably going. I'd imagine that this line is going down, and it'll be at like 1.5 by the time.
I'd be stunned if it crossed 3. I'll say that much.
No, I would think it's heading back the other way, but yeah. So it's minus 110, I guess, right now. I'm seeing Eagles plus 150 to win 115 to win outright. So I mean, yeah, you could do either one. I think you're probably right. The outright bet's probably the better bet here. I mean, 2.5 isn't exactly an exciting number, so why not take the plus 115?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny just to turn into DFS just for a quick second. Not everyone, but a lot of people are saying, man, what's up with Zeke? Is he out of shape? Well, his offensive line is in shambles. And that's really the difference. We've looked at Joe Mixon on the Bengals all year. When you have an offensive line that, you're getting hit in the backfield, that'll do it. So it is a giant.
Team running backs don't matter.
It's all you tell them. Play. That'll get us some views here. Just burn it all down.
We'll just put the title, running backs don't matter.
Yep, there it is. It's a game that I don't have. I stayed away. Mm-hmm. But boy, it is hard to. I look to back Dallas because I saw 2.5. That's a great number for them. They're at home. They're coming off a ridiculously bad loss against the Jets. But my God, is it hard? You mentioned, Zach Martin was limited, Randall Cobb limited, but Amari, and you mentioned the other pieces of the offensive line. I just don't know how much personnel they will have against, an Eagles team that's shown. They went in Lambeau, put a loss on the Packers. They're certainly equipped to handle the Cowboys in this situation. So interesting game, obviously huge implications in that division. I stuck with the NFC North, and I went to Minnesota, who I see for our spread. We've got the Vikings minus 1.5. I actually wrote them up in my article, which is free on the site if you want to check that out. The number is moving with me, I guess, at this point. It opened at Pick'em. I got them at 1 earlier in the week. Now I see 2 on my screen. We have 1.5 for the contest. And this is a team, I don't want to say that the receivers saved them, but honestly, that kickstart and getting them more balanced on offense has worked wonders for them. We know Dalvin Cook is fantastic, but having Cousins being able to keep defenses honest, obviously we saw Diggs explode last week. They go into Detroit, which is not an easiest matchup. They're very salty after they got hosed on Monday night. But, this is a team with the Vikings. They're just so balanced now on offense. dangerous. And on defense, they really have no weaknesses. They're a really strong defensive unit. I'm not sure how much the Lions can really score. If Carrion can get going, maybe, but I honestly don't see that happen. And I just see the Vikings kind of salting, grinding this one out with a, an impressive road victory.
Yeah, that's I don't hate that take at all. That was a game I looked at closely. What was the line at now?
So on my, where I'm looking, I see it at 2. Where we're getting our lines from for the contest, that the Vikings are 1.5-point favorite on the road.
Damn, interesting. Yeah, I mean, because Detroit's been kind of good this year so far.
They have.
They kind of deserve that win against the Packers. They were 16-1 to win the division at the start of the year, and that was one of the supposedly stats bets of the year. But I like that call. I mean, this is probably going to be I feel like this game is going to come down to a field goal, right?
It looks to be that type of competitive game. But with, Cousins being a little more dynamic, we'll see if it lasts. I'm not saying it's just an immediate resurgence. It's just a tough ask for defenses. And Dalvin Cook, outside of, the Bears and the Eagles, who are 2 of the hardest front sevens in the league, he has been literally unstoppable. He has had massive games, 110 plus rushing yards in every other game this year. I know the Lions defense is okay, but I really think they're going to have a tough time stopping him. So I'm going to lean with the Vikings. They have been much better at home for what it's worth, and they are on the road here. But I still think, in a spread that if it was north of 3, I would certainly hesitate. But when I saw it open at Pick'em and shoot up a little bit, I'm going to jump on it before it's too late.
Yeah, good call as well. Like the Detroit Lions run defense, not so hot this year.
Not
so
great.
It does play into the strengths of the Minnesota Vikings. I like that call a lot. I'm going to have to consider that one as well when it comes time to open up the old sports book. What are we doing for Jordan's pick here? Oh, Jordan is also on the Eagles with me.
Yep, you two sticking together. Ducks fly together, man.
We usually have 2 picks that are the same every single week. But
his last I was just going to get his out of the way real quick.
Yeah,
so his last pick is the Ravens. That is not a game that I touched. We've got, where is Baltimore on the screen?
3.5 in Seattle.
Ooh, yeah. So interesting spot. Seattle just keeps finding a way. I thought they were dead and buried against the Browns. Big comeback once again. Now they're back at home. So we will see. That's an interesting test for Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, who at times they look fantastic. At times they really don't look good. It's a game that I'm not touching just because I really have trouble gauging how good Seattle is.
I'm in the exact same boat as you. I'm not touching this one either. I just don't have a feel for either of these teams. It's like Baltimore looks amazing one week and looks like the best team in the NFL, and then is terrible. Plus that 3.5 points. I always just steer clear of those extra half-point lines. I would probably lean Baltimore here just because I feel like these are 2 pretty even teams. But man, going into Seattle, it's another tough matchup. It's a tough place to play. Cross-country trip. Stay away from me. But Jordan's, I think I'm guessing there's going to be. Let me look up the reverse line movement here. We're not seeing much reverse line movement here. That's usually Jordan's pick
calling card. Yeah.
But the Philadelphia Eagles are having a little reverse line movement in their favor right now. We got 68% of the bets going to Philly, 86% of the money. So you might want to get on that one now at that current line because it's probably just heading towards that number. So, or heading towards the lesser number. All right, you want me to go with my final pick?
Sure, take it away. Take it away.
Going back to back, this team just did me well last week. I'm a believer in Fitzmagic. Albert Wilson's back. Is actually I forgot to check. Fitzpatrick's been named the starter this week, right?
Yeah, somebody's playing quarterback for them. That much we can confirm.
I like him when Fitzpatrick's the starter because at least he can throw the odd deep ball, right? I read last week that Rosen was going to be the starter for the rest of the season, but man, it does not look like that's going to happen. So they're getting a little bit healthier on offense. This line is 17 points in Buffalo. Buffalo is a great survivor pick this week, which we will get into. I don't think there's much reason to go against them. I feel like San Fran's the only other option, and they're in a bit of a trap spot, but probably also a good spot. So yeah, I'm taking the Miami Dolphins and the 17 points. I actually got greedy last week and bet the Dolphins outright rather than at the 3.5 number, and that last play killed me. So Bills are 4-1 against the spreads, and this is the largest Bills. This is my favorite stat. This is the largest number the Bills have been favored by since the Jim Kelly era, 1992. It's a long time.
Yes, it is.
So yeah, Dolphins are allowing 36 points per game, which is pretty gross, but the Bills are averaging just 18. I feel like this is a spot where the Bills are obviously going to be able to shut down the Dolphins. It's just a matter of how many points can the Bills put up. I feel like it's probably going to be something like 24-7. Maybe Miami can get that extra field goal and keep it close, but give me the points. I don't think the Dolphins are as bad as we think they are, though. I could look like a fool for saying that.
They
about, 2 days.
My God, the thing about this, they've been some massive underdogs, but that was against teams. I like the Bills. I'll be honest, but they're not in the league. When you're a 20-point underdog to the Patriots, it's like, okay, this is the Bills, and the total in this game is just 41.
That's the thing. It's like they were like 21.5 to the Patriots and 17 to the Bills. Like, this is a much less explosive offense than some of the offenses that they've been getting trounced by. So that's kind of my rationale. It's like, how is this Bills team usually struggles to like occasionally, Josh Allen will just go ham, but for the most part, this is not one of the better offenses in the NFL. So I feel like they're probably going to struggle to put up enough points to cover that. But
yeah, I mean, it's a situation, the Dolphins implied total is 12, which is just ungodly. But I think if you're going to back the Dolphins here, you're really saying what you kind of just summed up. All right, if they can hold the Bills to the 20s, I'm confident that Miami can put up 10 points in this game, can put up 2 touchdowns, and that will do it. What you need to try to avoid is we've seen Miami give up with their offense 14 points with turnovers. That would be the killer. The Bills defense is very, very good. I don't know how Miami's going to move the ball. So you really hope it's a clean game, run that clock. Cause Miami's defense, it's not good, of course, but Josh Allen and the gang moving up and down the field, drive after drive, it doesn't scream probable to me. It really doesn't. So of course the Bills might be like 90% owned in survivor pools. We'll get there in a bit. But yeah, it's a game that is a lot of points. And I know Miami's awful, but my God, I did avoid them. Thank God. I'm going actually to one total. And it's a very obvious one, but you know what? I think that to me, you can't set it high enough. I'm taking the over in the Rams and the Falcons game. It's 54.5. The Rams play at the second fastest pace, just the Cardinals are faster. The Falcons can't stop anyone. We know that. And coming off what was just an absolute domination by the Niners, I know on the DFS side, everybody is talking about this game, and we will have plenty of breakdowns on how you can get leverage. I've seen some shows that with you and Alex and a lot of other people talking already about, how we can try to leverage that spot. So make sure to go check out, some of the DFS strategy shows throughout the week that we're offering. But just on the total side of this, I really see it being up and down. We know the Falcons can move the ball, especially at home. And the Rams, they got to get something going. This is the perfect spot. I wouldn't be stunned to see both teams in the 30s here. High total, but I still lean over.
Yeah. It is a high total, but it's in Atlanta in the Dome. Neither one of these teams has been particularly good defensively, especially Atlanta. I'm not super worried about Jalen Ramsey coming in. I'm sure they're going to put him on an island and have him cover Julio. I'm guessing you'll probably see him shadow Julio. You think like they used to use Ramsey as a shadow coverage?
Yeah, actually, I don't know.
I don't know.
In the sense of how fast do you think? I'll be honest. I don't know how fast in terms of scheme and adjustment. Can they just throw him out there and say guard Julio?
That's the thing. Like, that's why I'm thinking, like, why that makes the most sense. Cause you don't have to learn a ton of the playbook, right? You're simply out there, shadowing. You got one man to cover. You're relying on your instincts as possibly the top 3 cornerback in the NFL. So that was kind of my thinking on it, but yeah, you could be right there. I'm also like, do the Rams shadow? I feel like Talib and Peters just like stuck to their sides of the field
I believe they did too. Now they're both gone for different
Yeah.
reasons. The Rams secondary is a mess. So Ramsey will help a bit, but the way the Falcons have kind of been attacking, honestly, you take Julio away, and of course that's a big loss for them. Hooper, Ridley, Freeman, Sanu, it's not like they have no options.
Yeah.
I still think they can easily move the ball against the Rams defense. And then on the other side, if Goff can't tear up this, ever since Keanu Neal went down in the Falcons secondary, they have just been abysmal. We
Yeah.
saw it with Deion Jones last year, and it's the same story all over again.
Yeah, fair enough. And it'll be interesting. This is also like a really. I'm just looking up the pass rush numbers here, but Atlanta near the bottom of the league. No, not too bad. It's really just their secondary. I worry about the Rams pass blocking here. They're 31st ranked pass blocking unit in the entire NFL. Falcons kind of middle of the pack in terms of generating pressure through their pass rush. So, I think like this is another game where like if the Rams don't get their offensive line woes sorted pretty quickly, I think that's the main reason why they're not a good team this year is the interior of their offensive line just isn't the same as it was last year. So it's really, I think for me, also going to be one of these battles of the trenches where if the Rams can protect Goff and if they can scheme around that horrible offensive line and get the ball out quickly, then they should be able to put points on this board, put points on the board against this horrible Falcons defense.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with the running backs because in theory, I know he's done absolutely nothing, but Darrell Henderson is the perfect back against this Atlanta defense. If they can get him the ball in space, I would love to see him utilized. You mentioned
and Malcolm Brown's questionable DNP on Thursday, and Gurley is limited participant. So I kind of like that call, man.
I'm just saying
especially I mean we've known like the Falcons. It's not shaping up that way this year, but the Falcons for the last like 3 years have schemed to allow receptions to running backs. So little DFS tidbit there. Maybe Darrell Henderson.
Maybe
it's a little bit of workload. All right, let's move on to some survivor picks here. Should we just say, did we get Jordan's last one out of the way?
We did. It was the Ravens.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, there we go. This is your week to get an edge on us and come all the way back here. I feel it. I feel like
hopefully,
we're going to be tied going.
We will see. I will say, you really summed up Survivor already in about 2 sentences. We've talked all year. It's the name of Survivor is you want to be different when you can, but you don't want to be stupid. I think sometimes there was a week, perfect example. You took the obvious low-hanging fruit. Me and Jordan both not reached, in my opinion, but we went to the Rams against Tampa, and we got nicked. The Bills here, it's by far, particularly with the Bills, the next best spot for them in terms of choosing them is going to be so drastically lower than this spot. I don't know how you avoid them, even though everybody is going to use them.
So I can come up with an argument for why you would avoid them. And that's, I'm just looking at a Survivor grid right now. And the main reason for me would be that they have a week 9 matchup against Washington where they're at home and favored by 8 points. And there isn't a single team currently in the futures market, in the future lines, that's favored by more than 7. So they're probably the best pick of week 9, and everyone's going to burn them this week. So there's your differentiation. If you want to take the 49ers this week, you hold out next week. Miami's at Pittsburgh coming off a bye. That's a pretty easy game to select. And then week 9, you've got a differentiation point on the field by taking the Bills over Washington.
And that's a great summary. My thing is just, you mentioned it. This is a 17-point spread. It is a different stratosphere.
Yeah. Then as well, sorry to interrupt, but it's like, I'm not super confident in this 49ers team. They're favored by 10, but this, like, to me, this just feels like a trap game in Washington, coming off a big division win, traveling cross country. I don't know. I'm a little bit worried about the 49ers in this one, and that's why I'm still going to take the Bills.
The other thing about this week, we mentioned that with buys, it shrinks. You've used a bunch of teams already. It shrinks. I'd assume that legitimately 90+% of pools will be Bills or Niners. The next
Mhm.
best team, the Patriots, but practically everybody has used them already.
Yeah.
Um, After that, it's the Packers in terms of spread, and I don't think that many people are going to go there.
And if you haven't used the Patriots yet, I don't think this is the worst spot. They don't really like. I feel like we're going to see a little bit of regression from the Patriots soon. Like the defense can't keep this up at this level. Their offense isn't that dynamic without Antonio Brown in there. And then they have some tough matchups coming up. So this is an easy one, probably. I kind of like the Jets side of this thing, to be honest. But Cleveland, that'll be a tough one in week 8. But then you got Baltimore, bye, Philly, Dallas, Houston, KC. So the next usable spot, assuming Mahomes is okay, is Cincinnati in Week 15. So if you haven't used the Patriots up and you want a differentiation point, I don't hate that either.
It's I'm sure the Patriots will be fine. I will say that if they're going to lose, it's going to be away from Foxborough. I strongly prefer. I burn them at home, and I if I was going to, I'd probably try to wait for a home game with them, just because division matchup on the road is always dicey. It really is. I'm not saying that the Jets are going to win, but at the same time, I wouldn't be. It's not out of the realm. Whereas when teams go up to Foxborough, it is tough sledding. So we will see. Boy, if the Redskins, if they ever won that game, that would take out a massive chunk. Now, if the Dolphins won, that would just like end Survivor for the year. But I,
That
I
would
really
be,
don't see that
yeah,
happening.
that would be the Vikings Bills when the
Yep,
Bills did it to the Vikings 2 years ago. Was it 2 years or last
seriously,
year?
Josh Allen, what a goat. But yeah, I'm gonna keep chugging along. I think we. I don't know. Are you picking the Bills? Me and Jordan
Yeah,
both have the Bills.
I'm going to take the Bills as
Yeah,
well.
it's again when push comes to shove, and I have a Survivor article on our site. Feel free to check it out, totally free. I tried to make a case for some of these other teams, but at the end of the day, this is not the week. I think you actually get too fancy if you take the Niners because I feel drastically more confident in the Redskins beating the Niners than the Dolphins beating the Bills this week.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you there. Are you still? Do you got any? Oh, you got the Rams. You got one mark against you.
One mark against me, which
Jordan has two.
I think he has two. Yep, and you're still clean, right?
I'm clean.
Yeah, look at that. One shot, one kill style. We'll see. It's really starting. These are the weeks where it really starts to get dicey in a hurry because the buys, the lack of teams, you don't have the luxury of being able to have multiple big spreads to choose from.
Yeah, that's a great point. All right, should we get into some college football picks? It sounds like you got some strong takes this week, so I'm curious to see them. I might just have to go along with you.
Sure, we'll get into a couple, and then we'll duck on out of here. I know we got plenty of things coming up, and I will say right after the show, I will be breaking down the Saturday slate from a betting and DFS perspective. Articles will be posted, but I've been, like I said, NFL, college football, I'm back in the groove, which I'm happy to say. And boy, I am going to the well tomorrow with my Oregon Ducks. I told you right before the show, this is the spot for me. I've waited similar to what I said in week 1, and it did not actually work. I've been waiting for this Oregon team all season when they all decided to return after last year. They have a potential top end quarterback pick. They have all the skill positions you could want. And this defense is actually good. Last week on Friday, they played Colorado at home 45-3. And the number there for me is 3. That's just something you never, even when Oregon was great, you never saw them giving up only 3 points. They go into Washington this week. It's a 2.5-point spread. And in Washington, I don't want to simply, you know how this goes, no one. So the transitive property in football, it's a dangerous game. Washington's lost to Cal and they've lost to Stanford. Oregon already beat both of them. It doesn't always work like that, but I do think there's a reasonable question of just how good this Huskies team is. They have a good quarterback, but other than that, this defense, they suffered so much loss from last year, and Oregon just has so much skill talent across the board. They have the best offensive line in the entire country, 160 starts returning. That is massive. You never see that. I think they go in and absolutely lay it on them tomorrow. I hate laying points on the road. It feels grimy. It feels trappy. But this is, to me, just a clearly undervalued Oregon team.
Minus 3.5, 56-point total. Are you getting minus 3.5, -3?
So I bet this game yesterday at -2.5, and I really hope I still see 2.5 on my screen now. I hope it goes. Keep going. Go spread. Go. But I like I said, the minute I saw it, it is just a spot that I'm willing to really back a team that I think is still in the hunt for the playoff if things break their way.
Yeah, 5-1, 12th ranked team going up against the 25th ranked team, 5-2. I like it.
Yeah, it's just again, we will see. Oregon historically is so much better at home. Washington, of course, every team is better at home. I just think maybe a name recognition spot for Washington getting too much love. I'm not sure how good they are, and I am sure that Oregon can handle it. So we will see. 3:30 tomorrow Eastern. I really do like that spot. I'll give one more. And then, like I said, if you have any questions, I always am doing live before lock leading up to the 12, the noon games. I'm going way off the reservation for this one. Army and Georgia State. So I'll just keep it very simple.
Ben Rasa pick of all time.
This is right in my wheelhouse. I'll just keep it simple. Army, they're a military academy, obviously, so they're extremely disciplined. They don't throw the ball. They're a triple option team. They took Michigan to overtime and lost, and they've had some bumps. Tulane handled them, but they're a good team. They know what they're doing, and they do what they do. It's pretty binary. Can you stop the run or can you not? Georgia State, they cannot stop the run, and that is who they're playing. They travel down there, which that really doesn't bother me. And really what we've seen from Georgia State this year, they had a ridiculously impressive win for them against Tennessee. Now, it turns out Tennessee is actually horrible, but still, for a team like Georgia State, very impressive. Since then, 3 wins, 2 losses against very weak competition. They lost to Texas State. They beat Coastal Carolina. These are teams that Army would roll. But I'll leave it at this. 122nd in the country in yards allowed per rushing attempt is Georgia State. They're giving up almost 6 yards a carry. Army does not throw the ball. And if you can't stop them with the triple option, they will just legitimately just run it every single play. So this spread comes in. Army's only a 4.5-point favorite on the road. I know Georgia State's got somewhat of a dynamic offense, and I do think they can put up points. But when Army controls the time of possession like they will in this game, I think they just completely wear them down. I wouldn't be stunned to see Army have 400 yards rushing and just kind of roll through them.
All right. I like it. Off the board.
Put it on the board.
Up, make a little profit, a little parlay.
Let's hope. Yeah, I mean, I'll be you'll know on Sunday morning when I do the deep dive with Awesemo and Lofty. If I'm in good spirits, that means Oregon rolled. If I look extra disheveled, that means the Huskies clipped them up in Seattle. But there's so many games tomorrow. Like I said, I'm not going to get into them now. We're going to get on out of here in a minute. But if you have any questions, you can find me on Twitter. Find us in Slack. We're always talking. We have a great group in there discussing the games.
No, question for you. DraftKings running like a weekly free CFB contest. So if I wanted to fire up any DFS plays for me? If I wanted to fire up and get in this and
definitely. So I'll have an article, but I will say a couple things. So every time Oklahoma's on the slate, Jalen Hurts, we know, is the best play. So I'm not going to get into him, obviously. Chuba Hubbard is on the slate as well. The Oklahoma State running back who they just want to give him the ball every play. He's had 30-plus carries in 3 games, and he leads the country in carries and rushing yards. The guy is a machine. They are at home against Baylor.
His numbers are insane.
Insane. He is an absolute monster.
How are both of those guys? Oh, this is Oklahoma State. Okay.
Yeah, no, if they were together, it would just be game over. Chuba Hubbard, though, is just fantastic. He can catch the ball when needed. And then you look on the other side. Baylor is 6-0. They had, I should say, a absolutely stud linebacker, Clay Johnston, out for the year last week with a knee injury. That is a major, major loss for that entire defense. They go to Stillwater, where Oklahoma State is much better. And outside of the McNeese State game, which is an FCS school, Chuba Hubbard has had 25 carries in every single game. I wouldn't be stunned to see him have 35 carries in this game. So if you can afford him and he's not that pricey, he is an easy click in. And then I'll give one cheapie real quick. Cal lost their quarterback, and now they go to Modester, who's sub 6K, and you can use 2 quarterbacks in college DFS, which it makes it very cool. His first game, he played what I just talked about is, I think, an improved Oregon defense on the road. really didn't do much, but he had 10 carries in the game, which I love to see. He's a dual threat, and now he's at home against Oregon State. Cal's an 11-point favorite. I expect them to win the game. So if you're looking for a cheapie to maybe pay down for that second quarterback, look to the Cal QB. I don't think he's going to garner a ton of ownership or even recognition on a slate like this, but I actually have some interest, kind of under the radar type play.
I like it. I like it. All right, I'm going to get in on this week.
Yeah.
Ben has a weekly column detailing all his college football DFS picks. You can find it over at awesemo.com. That column is free, isn't it, Ben?
Yes, sir. It's free, available. Give it a read.
Quality content for free. So you can join. Come on over to awesemo.com. Check us out. We've got packages for every single level of DFS player. Packages starting as low as $3.95 per week for the casual player out there who might just want some rankings, as well as Awesemo's full projections. He's releasing his NBA projections this year, which is going to be hot fire. How far away is March Madness?
It's far away, but I'll tell you what, people, listen.
Those projections, my God.
Awesome. March Madness is amazing, but you know what? There's a long season before that. I know a lot of people don't pay attention. I get it. But hey, you come home at night, there's 50, 60 games on basically every day. There's 300 teams. I'll be having articles. I'm producing plenty of college basketball content, especially on the betting side. I love college basketball, so definitely hope to see some people in there. Come over and check it out because it is a ton of fun. And you know what? You can make some money with these under the radar teams.
Beautiful. Never ends. All right, Ben, thanks for joining us. I'm sure that we will be back as a full group next week. Good luck this week, everyone. Hope those bets come through and you survive your survivors.